Howdy, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Random Stories I found on my phone. I'm Jay Kenner. I'm assuming maybe you guys have been going in order, but anyway, I'm primarily a romance writer, but I also write other stuff, supernatural and whatnot. And so today we are doing a story about a photo I found on my phone that I don't have ready. And where did it go? I'm not ready. There it is. Okay. So, this photo, it's everything's all reflecty. So, kitty cat with that look and lots of funky colors. So, I have decided that because these are random stories I found on my phone and I don't remember taking them or where they came from, I'm not going to ever look at the location information because that feels like a cheat. So anyway, if you guys have been here before, you know the drill. I take that photo and I riff a story. Um, so like I said, I don't know where that picture is from. It's possibly a screenshot of something I thought was cool. It's possibly a strangely lit cat I saw hanging out in a restaurant that I don't remember. I have no idea how old it is, so, anyway, but no clue. Um, but I do think it could make a great story. So I figure it is supernatural. I'm calling this episode Witchy Cat. So that is sort of my only inspiration. Um, why is it supernatural? Because colors. Yeah, spooky colors. I mean, obviously, if there's ghosts or goblins in your house, you're going to have funky colors, or possibly a UFO. But we're going to go with supernatural. Um, so, all this cat is doing is sitting there. So, let's figure out who the cat is. I'm thinking the cat needs help, but the cat's given up. The cat has that look in his eyes, Um, he's just looking at the camera like, yeah, this is it. I'm just chilling. I'm kind of done here, but this is life. But what if the cat has this master owner who, okay, I haven't got a clue. Let's try something else. Spooky stuff, supernatural, right? So what happened to the cat? Why is the cat supernatural? What if the cat, ooh, 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 ooh. What if the cat wasn't always a cat? What if the cat is a witch? Or, okay, maybe we can work with this. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Centuries ago, this cat, no, no, no. Centuries ago, the cat wasn't there. Centuries ago, there was a very powerful witch. Um, and the one thing that she couldn't fight was death. That she was super powerful, but death was her enemy, and she didn't want to die. And so she attacked her enemy like full force on. She is looking all over the world, figuring out how to use her magic to seek out all these powerful creatures who could maybe help her defeat death. Um, and so at some point, she finds someone. What's the word for soothsayer? She finds like a soothsayer, and she tells the soothsayer that she wants to, defeat death. And so the soothsayer grants her wish, but in the whole be careful what you ask for kind of thing, there is a price. And so she is now immortal, but in a cat's body. That was the price. And at first she was okay with that. I mean, let's face it, I've got cats. They've got a pretty good life. This is a long time ago when, they're finding rats on, this cats would be finding rats on the streets and being treated mostly as pets, I would think. So one, she gets tired of the grind. Two, it becomes boring. Even when she, somehow manages to migrate to America, because I'm setting her over here. Actually, I guess I don't really have to. Wherever she is. Maybe she's a Parisian cat. That could be fun. Anyway, she basically doesn't have any magic anymore. She is literally just a cat. She is a human witchy consciousness inside the body of a cat, and she can't do magic really. She's getting tired of this shit, honestly. So she starts actively trying to die, and it's not working. For years, it's not working. For years and years, it's not working, and my voice is going. Give me a second. Anyway, so she starts doing all these things to, wave to death. Hello, let me in, please. And one day, she's trying to get smooshed by a car when someone picks her up instead and takes her to the pound, which, really kind of pisses her off because she's been around for forever and she doesn't really want to live in a teeny tiny cage. But she's a cat, she's stuck. And she doesn't, her magic doesn't like work in Catville. So, okay. So our immortal cat is in the local pound. Romance, probably, maybe not. Still not really sure where this is going. But anyway, he finds her. He's looking for a pet. He's lonely. Anyway, he's cute and he's sexy and he's charming. And he sees her and he rescues her and he calls her Samantha. Yes, I used to love Bewitched. And he takes her home. Okay. So now what? She's living in the suburbs. Sorry again. And stuff happens at the end. Okay, no, we're not really doing that. This one is, gotta figure this one out. Okay, so at first she's annoyed because she's still trying to die. She's done with this shit. She has had a long life. We'll say it was like, 10 centuries, maybe more, that she's, since this original sorcerer did this thing to her. So she does all these things. She like runs out of the house when he goes to get the paper. She leaps onto counters and rubs knives. She bats at the little thingy to make the oven burners come on and then just tries to sit there. She even maybe, I don't know, sticks her head in the bathtub and, tries to drown herself when he takes a bath. And then this keeps going on and going on and going on. But at the same time, she's also like enjoying her time with this guy because he's really nice. And maybe he's like some sort of executive type. And he comes home and he's tired. And so, he curls up with his cat next to him, with Samantha next to him. And she pets him. Sorry, he pets her. And it's, it's kind of this nice life. I mean, it's kind of cool being a cat. It's pretty easy. She's got a lot of love coming her way, and she starts to kind of like it. And after a while, she realizes one day she doesn't want to die. She actually likes her life, and she likes this guy. So, instead of, what her plan B would have been, like rubbing up against the rat poison under the sink until it falls over and, eating it or something. Does anyone even keep rat poison under the sink? I think I'm channeling old commercials with the skulls and crossbones. Anyway, doesn't matter. So, she's enjoying her life of snuggling up against him and purring. And, for her, this is pretty good, all things considered. That whole I really want to die, I'm bored out of my mind and want to be gone feeling is over. Okay, where are we going with this? Is this a love story? Is this a supernatural with a twisty ending? I'm still not sure. Okay, so anyway, all the way, okay, him. So she's content now. She's like pretty much in a good place. And she's not really thinking about the fact that this guy is mortal. So at some point, this happy little life she has is going to change drastically. She's not even letting that in her head. And as for him, he's, he adores his kitty cat. He's never really thought of himself as a cat person, but he really, really loves Samantha. And, she snuggles in the bed with him, curls up next to him. And all the while that this is happening, he started having these dreams of a woman with one blue eye and one green eye, because I think the blue eye in the photo was blue and not just the lighting, but either way we're going to go with it. The one blue eye and one green eye, so she's got these very distinctive eyes. Anyway, he dreams of them on a beach, and he dreams of them having long conversations, and this whole part of the story is like feels like it's the real life, like this is like a real like romance sort of developing between this him and this woman he met on a beach that he has these long conversations with, takes her to dinner at the little outdoor beachy restaurant, and it's, sweet, and she's like the perfect woman for him, and they're really, you know, um, hitting it off, and he finds her just really fascinating, and she tells stories about, things that happened years ago. She knows history and stuff, and and she's actually there in the dreams too. Her consciousness is somehow the magic let them kind of, she is the woman in his dreams, but he doesn't know that, and she can't tell him that. And what he does do is he tells Samantha about the woman in the dream, so she knows that he's like having feelings for her, and she realizes that she's having feelings for him too. Um, and he tells all his guy friends too that he's having these really strange kind of like not sex dreams but sexy dreams, and they rib him, and stuff like that. What he doesn't tell them is, like, I think he's starting to think the dreams are real. He doesn't really get how they're real, but they feel more real to him than a lot of what his real life feels like. And that's actually kind of worrying to him. I think he's probably a corporate guy, so he's very down to earth and stuff. And suddenly he's having this whole life inside his head. And so that's really confusing to him. Um, okay. So from there, his friends are starting to get a little worried. He's a little bit worried. And he's starting to think, and he doesn't know why, but he's just starting to think that the woman in his dreams is maybe like the cat. And he tells himself that's nuts. But also, years go by, like lots of years, like years where they're living happily ever after, him and his cat. But, he gets to the point where he actually retires, and it's still Samantha. Samantha, cats have a reasonably long lifespan, but not that long. And so he's thinking about it, but not really thinking about it. I'm not really sure how this whole section goes, but that kind of thing can be like kind of fixed. But Samantha still wants out of her cat prison. She's okay, back up a little bit before we jump time like that. Before we jump time, Samantha wants out of her cat prison. She likes snuggling with him, she likes being with him, she likes being in the dreams, but she is still a cat and she wants out of it. And, part of her still wants to die for freedom, but the problem is she realizes at one point that feeling has gone away. She no longer wants that. She wants out of the cat prison. She's fallen in love with the guy. And now it totally flips because she realizes that one day he is going to die and she's not, because she's never been able to figure out how, and this is a bad thing. So there's this whole irony. She spent these lifetimes trying to die, and now she's terrified that he's the one who's going to die, and she's in love with him, but she's only a cat and she knows time's running out. And you know now this death that she's been chasing and was so frustrated about, like not being there for her, is actually like sneaking up like the enemy, um stalking him instead of her. And so she's freaking out. She has to figure out what to do, so she has to find someone who can do magic because she's gonna lose this guy. Okay, that's kind of fun. So maybe she finds the guy who put her in the cat body in the first place. I'm not really sure. That's a possibility. Time would pass, but he's probably some immortal guy. But okay, we have to figure out a really clever way to do that, and have like set up throughout the entire book. And I'm not entirely sure how, but that's the kind of thing that can be figured out in the moment and when writing up the synopsis and all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, but there is a way. And so it takes her a while to find it. And by the time she does find it, he's a lot older. And then the wizard works his magic. And our hero, did I ever name our hero? I don't think I ever named our hero. We'll call our hero James. He realizes it wasn't a dream at all, that it was real. And he was right all along. You know, he told his friends he thought it was real. They said, "You're nuts, so don't tell anybody else if you don't want to be committed." But it was true. And she's there, and he realizes that she's the woman that he's been waiting for, that he's been wanting, and she knows the same thing. And we have this sweet um, last image is the two of them really old together in a living room, and they're holding hands, and she knows that the death that had originally just terrified her um, and had then abandoned her is actually coming now, but it's coming for her and the man she loves, and it's going to be okay. So it's, yeah, it's kind of ideas to be like a bittersweet kind of story where you cry at the end because it's a happy, sad ending. But yeah, that could work. Or it could be a comedy, you know? It could be a total comedy about this immortal cat who is desperate to die and keeps doing all these goofy things and shit happens. I don't know. That's the cool thing. You just really don't know until you get into it. But I think that one has legs. I don't think it's the best one. And maybe there's a better story, but that one could really work. Anyway, okay, that's today's episode of me riffing a story for you guys. I hope you're having fun, and I'll see you again next week. Ciao.